What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today is indeed Wednesday, which means a new summit is now live here at Motorfest. And well, I gotta admit, this one is going to be pretty interesting because for one, it's going to be fully motocross based on basically everything. Isn't that kind of crazy, bro? At least besides the long jump over here, but I'll talk about that in a quick second. I would go over the rewards, guys, but the platinum is going to be an old Crew 2 item that I would say a majority of players already have. Shocking, right? Probably not. I am going to admit right now, though, the three skills down here are probably going to be the easiest ones I have ever seen so far. They are so dang brainless, man. Like, you can probably jump in one time, get them all done. For example, the escape here, you basically start off, guys. I use the Kawasaki KX. You're then going to want to go past the objective, turn around, hit the Red Bull Cannon, and pretty much follow that as far as you can go. That is literally it. We're then going to have a long jump here with the Suzuki, guys. I started off, went right toward it, got 156,000 points at 737 yards. Probably going to be very easy. The other long jump, though, is a no restriction. You could use like an Alpha GP, a racing, a drag car, whatever you feel like running. I pretty much started off, turned around, went right toward it, hit my nitrous. I wasn't using a chemist on this one or anything. Got 154,000 points at 785 yards. To be honest, I would say it's going to be fairly easy for everybody. The next three events I did want to talk about here, I figured I would go over all three of them because they're all going to have the Gymkhana modifier on them, which is going to mean you're going to have to do freestyle stuff in the event. Do not worry though, guys, because all three of these races are going to be fairly straightforward. All you literally have to do, now this might sound honestly pretty dumb, but for every single event here in the middle, guys, that is going to have this modifier, all you literally have to do is pretty much do the race, okay? I know that sounds dumb, but that's all you're going to have to do. To be honest, it's pretty simple. Hit the jumps and stuff, do backflips and all that, and that's pretty much all you have to do on these. Overall, they're probably going to be fairly simple. With that, we're also then going to have three loaned events after that that are all going to be on the Robbie Madison bike. We are going to have a scoring one, which I would say people might not be the biggest fan of. That is going to be right here. So for this, I got 2 minutes and 16 seconds. You're going to have to hit the points, do backflips and stuff like that, do like a water wheelie. To be honest, this is not nearly as difficult as I thought it was going to be, as the route I did that good. To be honest, it might not be the best route, but overall I feel like it was decently quick for jumping in, not really knowing what you're doing and kind of just, messing around in there and getting it done. Overall, it was fairly simple. Once you are done, you then head to the checkpoint overall on that one. We're then going to have a race besides that. I got around 3 minutes on it. I probably could improve, but to be honest, I basically jumped in, did the race one time, and I was like, all right, cool. Anyway, let's now move over to the next one, right? It's going to be a fairly simple event. I would say one race that's probably going to annoy people, though, is going to be riding the waves. This is going to be yacht surfing, so it's going to be windy. The waves are going to be absolutely insane. And honestly, the dirt bike is pretty dang odd to be riding on the waves. It's very wonky, kind of goes back and forth, and like, you can lose control very easily with this thing. So I would recommend being a bit careful. Got around 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Again, wasn't the best run, but I really don't feel like going back in and most likely running this one again. Overall, though, that is going to do it for this summit, guys. I didn't find this one to be too difficult or kind of annoying, I would say, is probably the better way to put it, because I think players are not going to want to do it because it is motocross based, and on top of it, you're doing it for an old Crew 2 vanity. For a lot of people, it's most likely not even going to be worth it. I am curious to see what the overall player count on this one is going to be, because I have been noticing summits getting lower and lower with the players that are completing all of the events, which is honestly kind of interesting. Besides that, though, let's jump right into this.